Welcome to tonight's episode of Mr. and Mrs. Kiwi Talk WFFL, not waffle. On tonight's podcast or vodcast, depending on if you're watching on YouTube or not, we are just going to do a short, sharp, punchy review of the Week 1 results for the Women's Flag Football League.
We'll try not to waffle.
We'll try not to waffle. We keep saying...
I did, yeah.
I did see what you did. We're going to get in trouble. Apologies. So, moving on swiftly. It was a good weekend of football. You competed in your first WFFL, not waffle, WFFL game day weekend.
Yes.
But we won't touch on that because we're going to do things in chronological order. Yeah, we have to do it. So, Midlands South Conference. Lots of games. So many games, in fact, we had to put it on 2 graphics on our socials.
Lots of interesting scores.
Lots of very interesting scores, which we'll get on to. On the Saturday, Leicester Huntsmen were hosting, and almost immediately in game 1, there was a bit of drama.
Controversy.
A bit of controversy, yeah. So we'll address the elephant in the room. We'll go straight for the juggler. And we will talk London Amazons. So, yeah. So our understanding is, and let's be clear, it's an understanding. We don't know facts. We don't know. Haven't spoken to anyone at London Amazons.
Our understanding and interpretation of no.
Correct. Yes, is that the London Amazons were due to play Coventry Panthers, who we know are a strong team, and that. The London Amazons QB wasn't at the venue at that point where the kickoff was, and therefore the London Amazons made the decision to forfeit the game.
Despite having enough players to fulfill the game without their quarterback.
So we believe. We don't know, we wasn't there, but so we believe, yes. So what are your thoughts on that? Where's your head with that?
Look, I'd probably to iterate, this is opinion, not fact. This is what we interpret based on what we've seen. But obviously, up until last night, we shall go into that further in a minute.
Yep.
We believe that the tie-break rules were win percentage and then points for. Yeah?
No.
Or points differential.
No.
Against.
No. Keep trying.
I haven't got that many actually.
So the tiebreakers were win percentage,
yes,
head-to-head aggregate. Then it is net points per game, I believe.
2 points for.
And then there's a few others. So I think if you've got down to that point, you're already in trouble. So, yes.
So what's interesting is obviously instead of potentially getting a sound beating or be beaten significantly potentially by, the Panthers, they've decided to take a 1-0 walkover.
Yeah.
Which obviously plays into a whole host of tiebreakers and situations.
Yeah, and I think it's worth rewinding a little bit back further than that. So the change this year in the WFFL is that it goes off those tiebreakers, so win percentage, etc. Now, win percentage wasn't something that happened last year. That was based on points, so you get points for wins and obviously draws, and therefore that's how the league was sorted, so to speak.
More like what they do in contact, right?
No.
Or previously, that's how women's contact was run.
So women's contact was run, but not contact, no. So net points per game is actually even more important than ever this year, because that could mean the difference between you moving up and down if you're drawing on level win percentage, and obviously the other 2 criteria that go before it. So yeah, what I'm trying to get at is that it's more important this year in terms of goals scored, touchdowns and points scored versus points conceded.
But what we're getting at here is them taking a 1-0 walkover defeat as opposed to a, 35-6 6 or whatever defeat.
It might not have even been that much.
No.
I don't know.
Could potentially have a massive impact at the end of the season. And it does, as you said last week, tinfoil hat out, appear like even though we believe they had the players to fulfill the fixture, they decided not to.
Yeah, it's absolute conjecture that that's the reason why, but I know that there is a strong feeling that it was a deliberate act and not conceded many points because they knew that it was going to be more important. So it obviously caused up a bit of a fuss. I believe. I wasn't there at the league meeting. I should have been. Naively, I thought, well, I was quite happy with how the weekend went. I had no issues and therefore nothing to report. And the league meeting was optional.
That's obviously on behalf of the Huskies.
That's on behalf of the Huskies, yes. So, obviously then getting the summary afterwards, the teams agreed to add an extra tiebreaker in after win percentage, which is number of games conceded or forfeited. I think it's forfeits conceded. I think it's being termed as.
After win percentage and then after head-to-head, right? Or before head-to-head, okay?
Yep. Win percentage, forfeits conceded, head-to-head, aggregate score, can't say that word, and then net points per game, and then two others. And then I think it goes down to coin toss. So it's never going to get that far. So a change already after week one. It is a bit of an elephant in the room. And did they do it on purpose? Did they intentionally do it knowing that was the case? Who knows? I mean, only they will know. It's not for us to decide. We can only really share our observations and what we're seeing and the reaction of what we're seeing. But ultimately, with the new rule, I don't think it's done them any favours. And I don't think at the end of the day, I don't think it'll make too much of a difference, but we'll see. We'll see later down the season when that comes. So, another thing we need to tie up is that in the last podcast, we said, we wasn't sure whether London Flames were part of the London Smoke.
Yes.
I then saw an image literally the day after we recorded with the London Flames with London Smoke tops on. So I think that kind of answered our question.
So we're assuming that, yes, they are now the female
team for London Smoke.
Yes.
Yes. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. It's a nice segue on to how they've done, being honest, because in the first 4 games that they've played, they've won all 4. And they've put an impressive 214 points on the board. So, yeah, it's a good start.
But did they play anybody that really gave them a challenge, I think? Looking at, so maybe before we talk specifics about teams and games, I'd like to mention the fact that, 12 out of the 13 games had a nil scoreline on them.
Yeah, we'll get on to that. Let's review the...
That's an overall observation.
It is an overall observation. There's some absolute scary scores in there.
And a lot of nils.
A lot of nils, yeah. So, yes, you are right. There is...
Yeah, I'm thinking it's only one game that wasn't something nil score. I'm sure that's what
You're right. If you exclude... Well, yeah. You are right. Because that was the London Flame game against Iceni Spears.
Yes.
So that was 57-6 to London Flame.
Yeah.
That was the only game that didn't have a 0 scoreline in it.
Yes. Crazy.
It is crazy.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
No. And we'll get on to the individual teams that let's say, struggled, put points on the board. I think that's the best way of phrasing it.
Rewind back to Flame.
Yes, let's rewind it back to Flame. All over the show here tonight. Don't know what's wrong with us.
I think I'm still recovering from Sunday.
So, in no particular order, because I'm not entirely sure if this is the correct order of the games, but London Flame against Iceni Spears, as we just said, 57-6 to London Flame. London Flame 45, Nottingham Gold 0. and then London Flame 46, Nottingham Gold 0 again, so a repeat. So they played each other twice.
How was that?
Not sure.
It's a bit odd.
Who am I to question? I'm sure there'll be others where the other teams play the same games twice. And then London Flame 66, Nottingham Green 0. So
Big scores.
They are big scores. I think you're right. They've played Nottingham Gold twice, Nottingham Green once, and then Iceni Spears,
who struggled as well.
Yes. So all of the teams that struggled all day.
Yes. And I think we didn't see the litmus test, right? Yet we didn't see them play Panthers, and obviously Cougars and Birmingham weren't there. So I think, it's hard to judge how good they are based on those other teams, I think.
Yeah, and I go back to what we said last week. It's a bit...
They also didn't play Huntsman either, who were probably the better other team that were there at the weekend, I think.
Yeah, so the two teams that we thought would do well, they didn't play any of them.
Yeah.
And obviously the one team that we did think would be a challenge for them, without going back over it, they obviously forfeited that game. So yes. I don't think we can read anything into this conference just yet. But the Nottingham teams, really, really heavy defeats there. And against the same teams as well. So both Nottingham Green and Nottingham Gold played the same teams. The only difference between the two is that one team conceded 18 points less, which is on average 1 touchdown per game. Less. That was it. That is the difference between Nottingham Gold and Nottingham Green. Which
begs the question, and I know we asked this last week about Nottingham and about EKP and Manchester, right?
But the second teams.
Yeah, are they second teams or are they just two teams? I don't think we have an answer to that for Nottingham yet. I think we know in the north now, but I think for Nottingham, I think we're not sure. They seem more balanced, I think.
My understanding is that Gold are the more experienced players. Green are essentially almost like freshers, basically. So new to the game or just new into the university, new into the game. And that's my understanding. I can't guarantee that, but I'm sure I've been told that somewhere along the line. So it would, based on that, you would argue that Gold, just as it is really for books on the contact side of things, that Gold is the first team, Green is the second team. So yeah, a very, very tough day for them. Didn't get any points on the board. Unfortunately, they conceded. So Nottingham Gold conceded a total of 168 points. And Nottingham Green conceded a total of 188 points over 3 games for Nottingham Green. But Nottingham Gold played 4 games. So, you can see the difference there. So my kind of analysis of there's only 18 points between the two teams. Just bear in mind that Nottingham Gold played 1 more game.
Yeah.
Then we've got Iceni Spears. Another tough day in the office, but they did manage to get at least a touchdown, as we mentioned, against London Flame, who ended up finishing top. So, obviously work to do.
Yes.
I think we're going to be at a point, and we can touch on this a bit more, I guess, when we talk about HNC. I think we're going to get to a point where we've got to accept that some new teams, and Iceni aren't a new team, neither are Nottingham Gold, neither are Green technically. They're coming back where they were historically 2 teams.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
But generally speaking, if they are new players to the sport, it's going to take time. There's always going to be a gulf between the 2 conferences. I think in hindsight, and it may have been better, you're not solving the travel issue here. But in hindsight, I think it might have been better to have a Div 1 and Div 2.
Maybe.
Because you're going to get more teams to come in. A real input effect. Or I'm assuming we would.
Do you just assume that then if you're coming in as a rookie team, you go straight into Division 2, you don't get a chance to go into Division 1? Because I think when you talk about the North, we're not there yet, but there's an argument to say that a team that did particularly well.
Yeah, well, we will get on to that, and I don't think that's a fair reflection, though. When you, I would argue that case is more for someone like Birmingham Lions, who we know will have good players, we know will make a good account for themselves. You know, they are a new team into the league, but in theory, they're not new players or new people. So that argument stands a bit more for them. I wouldn't necessarily say so for who you were referring to in the HNC, who we will get on to. So, there's always going to be a gulf, is my point. As we get more people into the sport, as we get more teams, hopefully, into the league, we're going to have this gulf difference. And I guess it depends on your mindset. I personally don't mind playing the tougher teams. I took a lot away from the game that we played against Sheffield, who were a tough team to play at the weekend. And I'm a firm believer of iron sharpens iron. I know it's a cliche, but I believe it does. And I believe we get better through experience and playing those better teams. It's a hard education because there's some heavy losses that you're going to have to take. But if you don't take them, then, you don't learn from that and then don't build and get better. So, yeah. I'm not proposing that we go through all the results line by line. I think we've touched on the points from the South, Midlands and South Conference that I believe probably needs discussing. Is there anything that I haven't mentioned that you think we should highlight?
No, I was just going to mention also that Panthers obviously dealt out a 47-0 loss to the Huntsmen as well. So clearly showing that, Panthers were that next step up from the Huntsmen.
Yes.
Obviously, we didn't see the Panthers and the Flame play to see where those two teams are versus each other, but that was probably a score that was more than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, and I think the biggest result, which we haven't seen, or the biggest score on the board, was Leicester versus Ancini, which was a whopping 70-0.
Yeah.
So that's got to be a tough pill to swallow. Albeit, I think we do have to give a mention out. I believe that Iceni had very few players.
5, I believe. They played all of their fixtures with 5 players.
I mean, kudos to them for sticking it out.
I only had to play offense at the weekend, and I was knackered after 3 games. So having to play both ways for 3 games, shout out for fulfilling all their fixtures.
Yeah,
does leave you with a feeling of how stable are they for the rest of the season?
It does. It does. But equally, just bear in mind that it was the London series. The Patriots were in town against Jacksonville Jags. Whether you like it or not, the Patriots are a well-supported team in this country. So it understandably, it's going to have an effect. Let's not judge now. Let's judge later down the line.
Interestingly, if you compare those scores, Huntsman against Spears 70-0, and then Flame against Spears was only 57-0.
Yeah.
So,
but then Coventry Panthers, who, let's be honest, we thought was the top team and that were playing at the weekend, was only 46-0. So mixed bag of results.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to judge anything yet. We've still got Birmingham Lions and obviously the current champions, Coventry Cougars, to come into play on that. So week 2 for me will be the more exciting week.
Yes.
Compared to this week. As I said last week, when we were previewing it, for me, the HNC was where it was at. That was the most interesting league, or conference, should I say. So.
Are we having a mid-podcast break today?
I don't know. Would you like another brew?
Well. I've still got a little bit. I'm more you, the brew guzzler over there that I thought might need a break.
I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm doing too much talking.
All right. We shall move on then.
Yeah, let's move on to the HNC. So,
which we know in great detail.
We do know in great detail. We were there as part of the Huskies contingent. So Sunday at Manchester Titans at the Bellevue Stadium. Yeah. First of all, before we get into the performances of the teams, etc., how did you find it?
Well, as I alluded to before, it's a tough day. It was windy. It was very windy. And for those who don't know, I play centre for the Huskies, and some of those snaps, the wind definitely got hold of them.
I'm not so sure. Go home and go with it.
There was definitely wind was a factor. Thankfully, the rain had stopped. But we played one game against Sheffield up on kind of the top field, and the wind up there was really bad.
It was worse than the rest. Didn't have the shelter of the staff.
No, it was a good day all round, I think. Generally, just shout out the Huskies. I think everybody put in a good performance.
We'll touch on that. But
Tough day at the office for us as well. But, I think, from a personal perspective, seeing the team play their first games was pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So, picking out highlights, I don't think you can shy too far away from EKP Black, as they're now. We call them EKP 1 and 2. I think they've
Black
now
and Red.
renamed to Black and Red.
Mm-hmm.
So our understanding is Black, I would argue, is the first team.
Definitely.
The likes of Abby Coleman, Ainsley, etc. And that, I think it's fair to say that's the first team. So we had in our predictions that the top teams would be who?
EKP Black.
Yeah.
Queens.
Can't call them Queens, they're not Queens.
The Lead Samurai.
Lead Samurai, thank you.
Giants and Titans.
Okay. So EKP played both Titans and Giants the weekend.
Yeah, rob them both.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
clearly, the top of the top.
It looks like there's going to be 3 tiers, if I'm honest.
Yeah, so you're going to have EKP, the Chasing Bunch, and everybody else.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much.
And I think we saw that at the weekend.
I think we did, yeah.
With the scores as well.
We did see it with the scores. Yeah. But I think it's fair to say that the EKP obviously came down, they're going to be commanding that table. They're going to be at the top for quite a bit, I think, based on that.
Which is tough when you think, previously with the one division, you got to see that kind of cross-conference situation, and we're not getting to see that this year. Now, whether that will be to EKP's detriment or not will be interesting come finals, because they're not getting next. You say about playing better teams makes you better and all of that, whereas they're not getting those cross-pollination fixtures against the Coventry teams.
Yeah.
Or, it'll be interesting to see if that has an impact come finals day.
Yes, I will stand by it, because I say it for especially the contact side of things from the Premier North. Say all the time, when Manchester Titans are just dominating and everybody else is so far behind, that is not doing Manchester Titans any favour, because when they come to play the Aztecs, when they come to play the Warriors, or even Blitz, it's tough. It's really tough, because they're not used to playing that kind of opponent. And in fairness, they've won it twice, so they've dealt with it twice, and I think it's just caught up with them. I think the same. I'm going to stand by that premise with this. I think EKP Black may struggle, or not struggle. I don't think they'll have been challenged enough for them to prepare to then play whomever they play in the playoffs, because I think it's safe to say they're getting to the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think, it's true, and that's the unfortunate side effect of having the 2 divisions, right? The fact that we're not having that cross conference in the middle for them to get exposure to those other teams. Yeah. And obviously they lost the final last year, so it'll be interesting to see whether they can get back to that point at the end of the year, and then if they do, whether it does have an effect on that final game.
Okay. Surprise package.
Yeah.
Aberdeen.
I know. Well, speaking from experience, because we obviously played them in the first game.
First game, yeah.
They were okay. They beat us.
We went into the half up.
Yes. So I wouldn't say that they, 18-7. It wasn't a resounding victory by Aberdeen. It was a close game, I think, right till the end. I think, personal opinion, Huskies failed to score on some of the field position that we
take
had.
chances.
Yeah. So, going into that, I would have said that Huskies and Aberdeen were quite evenly matched and I look forward to playing them again. We obviously then went away to this top field to play Sheffield and came back to find that they had beaten Leeds, which I didn't see coming. No. They only beat them by 1 point, 25-24.
Yep.
But a win nonetheless, and not something that I saw coming given that we'd played them. So they clearly got better as the day went on.
Yeah.
I think it's also worth mentioning Leeds seem to have quite a small squad size as well at the weekend.
Leeds weren't the Leeds that I've seen before.
Sunshine wasn't there. They were missing a few more of their key players. But yeah.
We still had Nee.
Nee was there. Obviously, we know quite a few of the Leeds girls. They've subbed in when we've played kind of tournament football over the summer with us, so we know quite a few of them quite well. But yeah, I was surprised when I heard that result. Yeah. And got on Aberdeen getting out and getting 2 wins in their first tournament.
Fair play. A long drive as well.
Yeah. So I'm sure I was speaking to one of them, they said they had a 5 a.m. start.
Yes, but that would still be... So my understanding is that some of them are based in Glasgow anyway, or in and around that area. So their drive is 3.5 hours down, 4 hours, in my book. But anyway, and then I think there was a couple that came down from as far as Aberdeen. So that would have been a long trip. I don't know whether they came down the night before because it was on Sunday, so they could have come down on Saturday, maybe stayed at someone's house, another player's house. I did hear, I'm sure, when I was talking to one of the coaches that they were saying that and then come down. So either way, still travel, still takes its toll. To come in at that first game, I think they were a bit slow out of the blocks and we were quite quick out of the blocks.
Yeah.
We were fresh. But after that, I think the game was, as you say, evenly matched, and then it got to the end where we just let ourselves go a little bit. So fair play to Aberdeen. What a start.
Yeah.
2 games, 2 wins. And then we then look at the other new teams, I guess, in that, because these are the talking points. And I know that Manchester Titans had, they were 1-1, Leeds Samurai were 1-1, Sheffield Giants were 2-1 in terms of games for the day. But I think the other new teams, such as the Manchester Titans Bees, Cheshire Huskies, and EKP Red, they had a tough day.
They did,
albeit in fairness to Manchester Titans Bees, they were 1-1, but one of their games was against EKP Red.
Yeah, so they won the battle of the second teams.
They did, yeah, and we're yet to play both of them teams. So I think that'll be interesting when we do play them. We're not going to be playing them in the next tournament, so it's going to be fun. But I think for me it was more interesting. I think it was interesting to see that Sheffield was still vulnerable in their loss to EKP Black, and that was a big loss. Leeds Samurai were definitely vulnerable. I think, again, we went into the half 6-6. So again, I think maybe that's something for me as a coach to look at, adapting. I'll look at the film and see whether Leeds adapted better than what we did. But ultimately, I think it's going to be a bit more open. That there's going to be EKP, as you say. There's going to be a couple of others that are just underneath, and then there's going to be the rest.
Yeah.
And I think it's the battle of the rest, which involves a lot of new teams, which will be interesting.
I think it'll be the battle to that 4th final spot.
Do you think?
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, maybe. Let me just look at the Manchester Titans, because they're the ones that would stop that. I mean, Manchester Titans played...
Yeah, but assuming you've got EKP Black going top, right? Then you've got Manchester
and Giants.
And Giants.
Leeds will come good, I reckon.
Well, so that's the question, isn't it? It's between that 4th spot, in my opinion, depending on how the next tournament goes, is still up for grabs.
I'm standing by my prediction. Standing by my prediction. It's too early to say. I do think it'll be interesting between whomever the 5th team is, and then Well, I think the fifth team will eventually be Aberdeen Snowcats, but I think, again, if we do our job, then I think we could beat them. So they did well, but I think they're beatable. So I think between Aberdeen, Manchester Titans Bees, Cheshire Huskies, and EKP Red, I think it'd be very interesting to see how that goes. And I think that'll be the most interesting part if you exclude the whole Coventry Cougars, Birmingham Lions, Coventry Panthers scenario.
Yeah, so I guess we just wait and see what happens. But yeah, it was an interesting game of football. I was maybe surprised by Sheffield in that they maybe weren't as good as I thought they were going to be, and that they still resoundingly beat us. Let's not.
Yeah, their experience showed in that game, and we did move the chains.
Yes,
we did make some good stops. Mm-hmm. We did frustrate,
and I think that's what I mean. I was surprised that we managed to do as well as we did against them. They also seem to have quite a small squad, though.
They did, yes, they did. And we've got to say the other team that they played was EKP Red as well.
Yes.
So, the one game that they lost and the one test that they got, they lost quite a bit. So we'll see. Time will tell. Again, it could be the same reason as I seen Spears and the others, and I'm talking about the London game. That could be the issue. Same for Leeds. Same for everyone, really, apart from us, because we know that wasn't a factor for Cheshire Huskies. So it'll be interesting to watch. Let's keep an eye on it, and we'll keep talking through it. We'll preview and review. We'll keep doing it for each game day. But anything else on HNC before I wrap it up?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything.
Okay. Right. So short but sweet.
Yeah.
But hopefully you enjoyed the episode. Join us again in a few weeks' time when we will preview week 2. And then finally, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as follow our socials.